Good day, viewers. Walter here. Thought I'd share a little vlog with you today on the porch. A little bit stiff from all that grass cutting the other day. I'm going to probably get out here tomorrow and cut again, because the rain has really brought the grass to leaping up out of the ground. But I'm pretty well getting caught up on how far I was behind on my grass being out of control. I got it where I can deal with it now. In yesterday's video, or the day before yesterday, I was down there by the muscadine vines picking some. Talked to them, I mentioned them. One of my viewers was asking me, isn't that real close to where somebody died? And it is. There's a cross up by the road down there where a fella had an accident and his family came along and put a cross up. And evidently they've heard stories of ghosts abiding in an area like that where someone died. And it brings to mind well, they asked me, did I ever have any ghostly stories to tell? And I've already told one. I'll give you a link to it in the description. In fact, I'll just retell it to the best of my memory. I was about 8 years old. Was in the 3rd grade. We lived in Aiken, South Carolina at that time. My 2 brothers and my mother, with a man named George Wright that she had remarried. My parents were divorced and my mother had custody of us, so she had remarried this guy named George Wright. And he was a real scoundrel. We couldn't get along with him at all. He was nothing but, well, I don't even want to discuss him. But anyway, we lived on this farm. You can picture the farm pretty much in your mind, especially when the fields were all plowed, which we did a lot of the work. He worked us like slave labor. You think a 8 and 7-year-old boy can't get a lot of work done? I'm telling you, he would take us out there and he cut down I'll just give you a couple examples. He cut down a big old hickory tree. I don't know, it was huge, maybe yay big around. Probably 40, 50 feet tall. Dragged it down to the property with a tractor. Turned me and my brother loose with a cross-cut saw. We had to saw that tree up in sections about yay long, and then we had to split it. Didn't have no automatic wood splitter. But me and my brother sawed up that whole tree. Oh, it might have took us a couple of months. But we got that whole tree sawed up. And when you get in the groove with a sharp cross-cut saw, you can flat get some cutting done. Just about, probably half as fast as cutting with a chainsaw. It'll get the job done if it's sharp and cuts. But anyway, he worked the tar out of us, working them saws and doing other jobs around the farm. He would back his little, I guess it was a farm-all tractor up to a tree stump or small trees that had been cut down, clearing land to grow more garden area. My brother and I would hook a chain around the roots of that thing, even if we had to dig down in there with our hands, and he would take the tractor and pull the little stump up out of the ground. Worked like that from daylight to dark, so anytime we could get away from him, we did. My brother and I would spend hours out in the woods playing. I'm talking about heavily forested woods too. We would go, I don't know, 5 or 6 miles somewhere, and just had to be back before dark. We fished out in the woods. You think of it, we found things to do. We climb up a little old sapling pine tree and swing back and forth, just for something to do. Ain't a boy around back in them days that didn't climb a tree once in a while. Anyway, I'm getting off my subject here, talking about the ghostly story. Out in the middle of this field, probably, I'm going to guess 200 feet away from this old, it was an unpainted wooden frame house like you see in some of the hillbilly movies nowadays, what people used to live in. Nobody bothered to paint their old houses. It was an old wooden farmhouse. Didn't have a bathroom. Had an outdoor water pump. We had to go out there and pump a bucket full of water to bring in the house to drink before in fact, we helped dig the well. The well was dug by a pulley and a hoist, and raise this pipe up and drop it, raise it up and drop it. Every time you pull it up, you beat on the pipe and knock some dirt out of it. When you dig down about 25, 30 feet, you'd hit water. Had one of them old, had to pump the handle up and down to pump water. That's how we got water to the house. Prior to that, we had a spring that we had to go get water out of the spring, and that water was, a quarter of a mile from the house, but it was good water. I remember that. We didn't have some chores to do. We were out doing other things, having a good old time being away from him. But out in the middle of this field, 200 feet from the house, was the outhouse. You didn't build an outhouse close to where you live because you didn't want to smell the area, because it gets pretty odorous around an outhouse. But if you have to go out at night, things can be real scary, especially to a 7 or 8 year old boy. My brother was 1 year younger than me. We had to go to the outhouse in the middle of the night. We had to light this old kerosene lantern and take it so we could see where we're going. You wouldn't want to trip over something out there. Go down to the outhouse, and we're in the outhouse, and it's like, I don't know, way after dark. And my brother said, something's out there. He was already finished going to the bathroom, and I was still using the bathroom. I said, there ain't nothing out there. Yeah, there is too. There's something out there. I'm getting scared. So we got ready to leave the outhouse, so I picked up the lantern, and we stepped outside of the door. So I still hear the squeak of that door opening and closing and slamming behind me as I come out. And sure enough, about, 50, 100 feet away from the outhouse was this glow. It was like a shining light. It wasn't a person or a flashlight. It was just more like a phosphorus glow. And it could be in the shape of a person. But I made up my mind that must be a ghost, and it scared the tar out of me. I doubt it was a ghost now that I'm older and smarter. Well, some people might rule out the smarter portion, but it scared us no end. It was like your heart got a racing, and you didn't know whether to scream or what. We shall beat a trail back to the house. We come running in the house. There's a ghost out there. There's a ghost out there. It was going to get us. And his name was George Wright, just laughing like heck at us. But he was sitting in there in a rocking chair, reclining or something. We knew it wasn't him because we ran back ahead of whatever it was we saw out there. Got in the house. Well, from then on, we were scared to go out at night. We're not going out there tonight. We'll wait till tomorrow. There's ghosts out there. And eventually, time came within a few days that we had to go to the outhouse, and we'd be in trouble. So we ventured out to the outhouse again, knowing we were going to probably see that ghost again. And that scoundrel, George Wright, he went out and put a blanket over his head or something and waited till we were in the bathroom. Ran out there in the field, and when we came out, said, "Woo!" trying to scare us. And he succeeded in scaring us. We come running back in the house, even though it wasn't the same thing we saw the first time. And he thought it was so hilarious to scare us. We realized when we saw him come in the house that it was him we had seen out there. It wasn't even similar to what we saw the first time. I could not rule out the fact that maybe it was some kind of ghostly spirit that we saw the first time. But if you want to talk about a ghost, there was a time when I was a child living down in Central Florida that I believe I saw an angel. I woke up and lights were on somewhere in the house so I could see it. It was not dark in the room, it was light in the room. And standing over my bed as I woke up was what I could see to be an angel. It was just looking down at me. And for about 15 or 20 seconds, I was just in awe. It was almost a glow. Some angel was looking down at me. And then it was gone. I don't think I hardly ever mentioned it to anybody, but there's been times in my life that I wondered if an angel was looking over me. Somebody in heaven has got to be looking over me as many times as I've had near-death experiences and lived to tell the tale. I've had more than you can count of in my lifetime of near-death experiences. Anything from falling off and getting dragged under a train that's going down the tracks 25, 30 miles an hour, like something in the movies you might see. I was in a head-on car collision one time. I walked away from that. I couldn't begin to name all the times that I've had near-death experiences. And it makes you think, I should be gone. I'm not here anymore. I shouldn't be here anymore. But I'm here. I've lived through ruptured appendix, several serious surgeries, congestive heart failure, medical problems. That's only because of my old age. But in my younger days, there was numerous times that I could have been killed. I recall once when I guess I was 6 or 7. I had to walk to a store down the road to go get some candy. Somebody gave me a penny or a dime or a nickel or something to go get some candy at the store, and it was a half mile down the road. When you get down there, there's a paved road like right here in front of the house. I stepped out in the road without looking, and the person coming at me in the car skidded their brakes and got stopped. Oh, not even 2 feet from where I was standing. I was just froze like a deer in the headlights. And there was no reason I should have lived through that. Only that somebody upstairs was looking out for me. And on numerous occasions I've always felt like somebody was looking over me. So in respect to a ghostly experience, yeah, I've had a few ghostly experiences. Not like you would see in the movies where some ghost would haunt you or scare you. But that's my little vlog for today. Speaking of that, I do often think about the hard times we had when we was a child. We eventually went back to live with my father, and my mother lost custody of us. And we lived from the age of about 10 on up till I graduated from high school down in Central Florida. But I had my near-death experiences down there too. Fell into quicksand when I was 14. It wasn't really quicksand, it was a bog. And I disappeared down there where they had dredged water up out of the river. And I was up to here in mud going down before a fellow that was with me stuck a pole out there. I grabbed onto it and he pulled me to the solid ground. Lost my shoes that day, got a spanking for coming home without my brand new shoes. Clothes absolutely ruined. But I went home thinking, boy, I sure am glad I'm alive. Didn't know that Father saw me coming and gave me a spanking when I got there. Anyway, how many of you people out there might have some ghostly experience you want to share with us today? And maybe your belief as to whether or not there are ghosts or even angels. I firmly believe somebody is looking down for old Pwalpar. Thanks for listening to me today. I do hope everybody has a good rest of the weekend. Y'all take care. I'm going to conclude today's vlog before it gets too long. Y'all have a good day.